Hi, Carl.
There we go. Hi, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Very well, thanks. What happened to all my backgrounds? Uh-oh. Almost there.
That's nice.
Yeah, well, and we're really happy to be heading back to the Galapagos and Iceland and Greece and Alaska.
That's very nice.
Denise, when people come in, do you want them to see this or do you want them to see the first page of the presentation?
Well, this is fine. And as soon as we start with the presentation, you can share your screen.
Okay.
Okay, we have a few people joining. We have Derek from our team. So as you can see, I added Silversea on your name so people can recognize
Thank you.
you're part of Silversea. And then whenever you see someone from our team from Luxury Cruise Connections, you will see Dash Luxury Cruise Connections. So we have myself right now. We have Derek from Luxury Cruise Connections as well. So we'll have everyone from our team joining anytime soon. We also have Robert, which is a very loyal customer of ours, right, Robert?
Robert,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see people coming back out and thinking about traveling and starting to make plans.
Yeah. Hi, Robert. So we'll see a lot of um, loyal customers from us. So our team is joining now as well, and we'll have Audrey as well joining.
Yep. I'm pretty sure she texted me this morning and asked if I wanted her. Of course, it's your show.
So we also have Jasmani Santana, Jazz.
Jez, I think we spoke, or you had some questions the last time I presented, maybe for the team. Yeah.
I believe so. How you doing?
Good. You?
Well, we got a little bit of an echo here because me and Denise are in the same room, but good to see you.
You had a good chat with Carlos last week. You guys are looking at some interesting stuff. Cape to Cape, from Cape Horn to Cape of Good Hope, and then up the east coast of Africa. There's some really cool stuff. We might have to do another one of these presentations about those in Africa and Indian Ocean voyages.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Thankfully, like you were saying earlier, everybody is getting ready to go. They're excited to.
Thank goodness.
Tell me about it. Let me. I'm actually going to be helping Denise. Carlos is going to be joining us a little later, but I guess I'll help her get the ball rolling with you and with Audrey, and let you guys kind of take it away and do your thing.
Good. See.
I guess what, like 3:05, 3:10?
So basically, we will start around 3:05, 3:10. People are joining us. We have people from our team, Monica Anderson, and you will see Luxury Cruise Connections. You will see Marco Cruz as well. We have Derek.
Can you guys hear me? I don't know if I lift up.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Quick hello to everybody that is joining us now. I see a few more people joining us on the chat. We're going to get going in about 10 minutes or so. Waiting on a few more to join us. Thank you again. And we'll have some really nice conversations on getting back to sailing with Silversea and also some great Antarctic and Arctic cruises. Greg Seed, hope I'm saying that right. Hello.
They're joining us from Vancouver. That's really nice.
Very nice.
We can see you, Greg, but hello.
If you all are expecting Carlos's face here, I'm the much better looking version of him. So this will be an easier webinar. Hello, Percival. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We've got Stuart, Donald, Michelle, Rosanna, Tom. I love the name, Tom Arnold. Love it. Hi, Laura. Thank you for joining us, Laura. Laura is one of our really great senior luxury travel specialists. We've got Albie. I don't know if we said hi to Albie. Hey, Albie. Look at that guy. Tanya, Ronald, thank you for joining us. We'll get going here soon within the next 5 to 10 minutes. We've got Carl from Silversea, Carl Constatter there with us, and we are waiting on our area sales director as well, Miss Audrey Corso. So she'll be joining us soon and we'll get the ball rolling.
Jazz, there's Audrey.
Hello, hi everybody.
Hey, hey Audrey, how are you?
Good. I made it. Sorry, I was on I was on a conference.
Beautiful background you have there.
Thank you. Yes. I wish I was there on that ship. Okay.
So we'll start in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very, very good. Thank you. So nice to see everybody.
Good. So Carlos is running a little late on the meeting, but we have Jazz, who's looking much better on Carlos' office.
Hi, Jess.
Hi.
So he will assist us with anything, any questions that you need from Luxury Cruise Connections. He will be assisting us today. You can send him private messages if you need to. Anything you need, we're here for you, and we'll start in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I'll say this again, but for anybody that's joining us in the webinar, if you have any questions or if you'd like to have one of our travel specialists reach out to you also after the webinar, please let me know. Send me a message. And of course, the same thing with the questions. If you have any questions for either any one of us or Audrey or Carl as well, please make sure you send it there so we can answer it. We'll make sure we'll do our best to get to every single question. So in about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll get everything going.
Perfecto. Thanks, Jazz.
What ship is that behind you, Audrey? What's that? Which one's that one?
That is the Silver Origin, and she will be getting into the water starting on June 18th. We're so excited, aren't we, Carl?
Hello, Audrey. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for coming. It's good to see everybody. But this is base camp on the Silver Origin. So when people are going to get on the ship or get onto the ship from the Zodiac, they'll come right through the one deck and they'll go right through that area right there and then check into their room from that point on. So, Carl, we're doing polar, just polar? No.
Antarctica and the Arctic.
Got it.
We'll mention a few other things.
Okay.
Some
Good.
interesting, fun things.
Oh, we got George Torres on, our luxury travel specialist over there.
Hello, Mr. Santana. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Torres.
Hey, Audrey.
Hi, George. How are you?
Very good, very good.
You guys are keeping me busy.
Yes, we are.
That's good, right? It's a good problem to have.
It's very, very good. Yes, it is. And more news to come too. We've got another announcement that'll come out on Monday. Silver Muse is going to Alaska.
Nice, beautiful.
We might make a sneak announcement or a sneak peek announcement here.
This is why you want to join this webinar. Absolutely.
Amazing. So we have a few people here. Over 40 people have joined us today.
Fantastic.
I'm expecting more to come. So
Yeah, what, a couple more minutes?
we'll wait one more minute,
Okay.
1 to 2 minutes, and then we'll just go ahead and start. I'm pretty sure everyone has a lot of questions as well. And we'll start with some polls as well. We have a few questions. We want to ask everyone who joined about themselves, if they ever cruise with us or Silversea. So we'll just launch polls, and you will see them on the middle of your screen, so you can answer, for example, this one, if you ever cruised with Silversea before. Good. So we have actually 25% of people cruise with Silversea. So I'm pretty sure that people that we have a lot of people that will actually be interested in cruising with Silversea. That's why you guys are here.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Venetian Society members. We love you.
All right, so I think we can get things going here a little bit. I'll just introduce myself again. I am Carlos Edery's better looking stunt double, Jazz.
And younger too.
Yes, and younger too, right? Luxury travel specialist. As you can see, we have most of them, if not all of our luxury travel specialists here on the call as well. You'll see right next to their name a dash and then Luxury Cruise Connections. For every one of the guests that have joined as well. If you'd like to reach out to us, please go ahead and send us a a message through the chat with any questions that you may have. And if you'd like for one of our specialists to contact you after the webinar as well, please feel free to let us know and send us a message through the chat as well. We are going to be discussing some really exciting stuff today with Silversea, of course, our area sales director, Audrey Corso, and again, also, our director of expedition sales with Silversea, Carl Constatter as well, to be talking about some exciting news as far as getting back on the water, and of course, the Antarctica and Antarctica as well, and maybe some other sneak peek things, as they said. So without further ado, we want to go ahead and get things going. By the way, as Denise mentioned, the polls will come up periodically. Go ahead and give us your answer there, how you feel about certain questions that we do post up, and which will help us, of course, answer your questions a lot better. But not only that, but be able to provide you the best service that we possibly can as well. So again, without further ado, go ahead, my Silversea people, take it away.
Audrey, go ahead.
Well, thank you very, very much, Jazz and Luxury Cruise Connections. You guys have been wonderful. You're a top account. If you've never used Luxury Cruise Connections before, please do. They are a virtuoso agency. I've been working with them for years, and great knowledge with these agents. They know our product very, very well. So reach out to them, please. And thank you so much. I'm so glad to have Carl here with me because he is my expert on expedition. He's going to tell you all about the polars that we do with our expedition ships, and then we'll have some of the offers at the end, and then Q&A after that. So thank you for joining me, and thanks, Carl. We appreciate you a lot.
My pleasure. You keep me employed. It's all good. So we'll review a lot of information today in a relatively short time. please don't feel like you need to memorize it all or take notes or anything. That's why Luxury Cruise Connections is here. So reach out to your travel advisor with your questions that might come up afterwards or whatever's going on, because again, we're going to review a fair bit of stuff. And what I really encourage you to do is, if there's a voyage that you're very, very specifically interested in and you've got questions, or a couple of voyages, work with your Luxury Cruise Connections travel advisor, who in turn can contact me or Audrey, and we'll do one of these privately for you. And I know that sounds insane, but it's true. I would much rather, and it's in everyone's best interest, that you learn as much as possible about these destinations before you go, what to expect in terms of weather and how to pack and what wildlife you're going to see, the best time of year to go, all of those sorts of things. Because expedition is a bit of a different beast than if you have sailed on a classic voyage before. So Audrey politely calls me her expedition expert. It's just a lifestyle. I've been so fortunate to have done all kinds of really interesting things in my career. This photo was taken at a wedding ceremony in Papua New Guinea in 2009. My wife heard this presentation recently and she said, could you please point out that it wasn't our wedding ceremony? It was just a wedding ceremony that you were at. This photo was taken in Antarctica the first time I went in 2002. And this one was taken at the North Pole in April of 2015. So again, it's a lifestyle. This isn't just my job. I love talking about doing all kinds of adventure and expedition and talking about it and educating people. So again, use me as a resource even after this is over through your travel advisor at Luxury Cruise Connections. And let's show a little video to sort of start off and talk about the brand. I don't know why there's no audio in here. I'm sorry about that. The thing to notice about this video is that there are no hero shots of a cruise ship. We're a small ship luxury cruise line. And other than that little bit of railing, and you might see another couple little shots here and there, but the focus of this video is all about destinations, because that's what Silversea is all about. Those of you who've sailed with Silversea before, our ships are all very, very small. The largest one has a guest capacity of 608 guests. And Audrey alluded to the fact that we're going to start sailing in Alaska again. The average ship in terms of guest capacity in Alaska is 3,000 guests. Would you rather sail with a few hundred or a few thousand? So we feel that certainly in a post-COVID world, our small ships going to these remote destinations are going to be a big difference. This is what people are looking for. So this will give you an idea. In 2019, we sailed to over 900 different ports of call, and 570 of those were on the expedition side of things. And again, it's the size of the vessels, and I'm going to sound repetitive, but it's because a 3,000 or a 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 passenger ship can't get in to some of these ports. A 300 or a 400 or a 600 guest ship can get into these ports. So we had in 2019, we visited that many different ports. In 2020, it was scheduled to be over 1,000. Obviously, the pandemic hit, but it's always way up there. It's close to 1,000 different ports of call now in our 21 and our 22 and our 23 seasons, soon to be launched. And that's the big Silversea difference. 4 exciting things to tell you about. The first thing we announced, and this is probably a month ago now, is that we are going to start sailing in Greece very, very soon. We are also going to start sailing in the Galapagos later this month. We announced yesterday, and I don't think this is on sale until Monday, that we will start sailing in Iceland, circumnavigations of Iceland starting in July, so next month, and Alaska starting next month as well. And these ones for the North American market, and I'm Canadian, so I think I better specify for Americans because we're not really allowed to leave yet. We can leave, but it's complicated when we come back. For Americans, because this is domestic travel, these cruises will start and end in Seattle, 10 and 11 night itineraries, Seattle return. And because it's within US territory, no masks. Everyone does have to be fully vaccinated. You can get off the ship and do your own thing where the shore excursions are concerned, etc. Again, reach out to Luxury Cruise Connections if you're interested in Iceland, Alaska, the Galapagos, or Greece, all this summer. In Alaska, we will be the only luxury cruise operator this summer. So I talked about all these destinations that we can get to with this fleet of small vessels. Here they are. There are 9 in the fleet currently. The Silver Dawn will join us very, very soon, I think in November of this year. And then there are 2 more scheduled to come in 22 and 23, each around 600 guests as well. So all of those things, the access to the destinations, those small ships, the fact that we include everything, these are the things that set us apart. On a vessel of similar tonnage, most cruise operators would have up to 500 guests on the expedition side of things, where we've got 274. Because of the size of the vessel, but so few guests on it, it means we can increase the number of crew, including butlers. So our staff to guest ratio, where most people are 1 to 3, there are 2 people ahead of you in line for your drink. With us, it's 1 to 1.3, or excuse me, 1 to 1.4. So less than 2 people, 1.4 people in front of you to get a drink. And of course, the suite sizes are larger on Silversea. What's included? Everything. You start with the round trip economy air from home, all included. Your shore excursions included. Pre and post cruise hotel, the transfers, butler service and gratuity, and butler service in every suite category, not just the upper suite categories. Wi-Fi in every suite category. And then what we're going to talk about with Expedition, whenever we need in-country flights, and we can talk about that a bit, the expedition team, the Zodiac tours, and I would include kayaks in there, and the excursions on land and on foot. And when we're in the cold regions, like we'll talk about today, we also include the parka. So truly all inclusive. One of the questions we get a lot these days is, how is the guest experience going to change as we're still coming out of COVID? It's going to include some combination of these things, and it really depends on where we're sailing. When we're sailing in Alaska, because we're in the US, we're in US territory, the CDC has really relaxed the guidelines of late. Everyone must be fully vaccinated, but we don't have to wear masks on board. We can go ashore on our own. There will not be testing on board. When we're in Iceland, when we're in Greece, we fall under European regulations. So it's a different combination of these guidelines. And in the Galapagos, it's different again. So it really varies depending on where we're going. Reach out to Luxury Cruise Connections to speak about the voyage that you're interested in, and we'll be able to tell you certainly about the 4 that I mentioned. If we're talking about something 8, 10, 12 months in the future, we honestly don't know yet. We'll see how that goes. It's all still very, very fluid. When we talk about expedition, I mentioned the fleet before. These 3 vessels within the fleet make up the expedition fleet, in addition to the Silver Origin, which is based exclusively in the Galapagos. But when we talk about Antarctica and the Arctic, we're talking about the Silver Explorer, the Silver Cloud, and the Silver Wind. And look, you're looking at guest capacity of 144, 240, and 274 guests. That's amazing. You know, when you consider that the largest ships out there now are floating around with more than 6,000 guests. And that's fine. There's a market for that, and there's a place for that. This is a little bit different because this is luxury on a small ship with few people. Here's an example, the Silver Explorer, our highest ice class ship at only 144 guests. But because she has a high ice class, she can get into some really interesting territory. And here's the Silver Cloud, which was converted from one of our classic ships to become an expedition ship, which allows her to get into ice waters as well, polar regions. I mentioned in terms of the inclusions, the highly qualified expedition team. These people, no joke, have written books and have had books written about them. They have been to Antarctica and the Arctic 60, 80, 100 times, no joke. These are polar historians, geologists, marine biologists, glaciologists. They're the ones who are interpreting it and bringing it all to life in formal lectures, but also informal. When you're on shore, when you're walking around, when you're at the bar, they're always there to talk to and to learn from and to share stories with. And they're a significant part of the voyage because they're absolutely passionate about what they do. And that's why they continue to go back year after year. And as I said, dozens or scores and scores and scores of times. It's not unusual to be standing next to somebody talking about Antarctica, and then you casually ask them, how many times have you been here? And for them to tell you 80 times. It's not at all uncommon to have that experience. So that's who you want showing you those parts of the world. And of course, all of this taking place on these very, very comfortable ships. These are not old Russian research vessels that have been converted, or old Estonian car ferries that have been converted into an expedition ship. These are either designed and built as an expedition ship, or they were designed and built as a cruise ship and converted into an expedition ship. So I'm mentioning the term expedition and throwing it around a lot. What does expedition cruising mean? First of all, it means that we're going off and exploring, typically by Zodiac. We're using these rigid inflatable boats to get 8 to 10 guests at a time off of the ship. So the ship is like base camp. And then we get off of the ship and we go explore these really remote regions. So the Darien Gap, the Russian Far East. So this is across the Bering Sea from Alaska, that part of Russia. In the Galapagos, on a hike in Madagascar. And let's start with Antarctica and a video. And again, no sound. Oh, well. Okay. Basically, it's this fellow, Luke Kenny, who is one of our expedition leaders. And in this video, he is talking about that any expedition voyage, but in particular an expedition voyage to the polar regions, and in this case, Antarctica, you have to be very, very flexible and adaptable because we are at the mercy of the weather, the wind, the waves, the ice. Our plan might be to go into a little bay in the morning, but overnight the wind blew in a particular direction, and it blew that bay full of ice, and we can't get in there with the Zodiacs. So we need to pivot to plan B or plan C or plan D. So what you'll notice on an Antarctic itinerary very often is it'll say day 3, Antarctic Peninsula, day 4, Antarctic Peninsula, day 5, etc. And there's no more detail than that. And it's not because we're trying to hide anything from you. It's because we don't want to set an unrealistic expectation and say, Wednesday at 2 p.m., we're going to be doing this. We don't know what we're going to be doing Wednesday at 2 p.m. We have an idea of what we're going to be doing Wednesday at 2 p.m., but it could all go sideways on us, and we just have to be flexible and adaptable with that. But you can see it's a rather rigorous trip. I mean, it's busy. It doesn't have to be rigorous. One of the things I wanted to mention in terms of the difference between a classic voyage and an expedition voyage, in case you haven't done expedition yet and you have done classic, on classic, in the lounge or in the theater, you're going to find in the evening Broadway style shows, that sort of thing. That's where we would have lectures instead. We might have some performers. If we're in the Arctic, we might have some Inuit throat singers or something like that. We may bring them aboard. But typically the theater is for the lectures, the recaps, the briefings, that sort of thing, because these voyages are very, very much about enrichment and not about the casinos and not about the Broadway style shows. We don't have casinos on board. We took them out and put in a photo studio. So looking at the geography of Antarctica, and I put this in here because you're going to see when we get to the Arctic how the two are very, very different. Antarctica is a frozen continent surrounded by oceans. There is a landmass at the South Pole. Remember this, because when we get to the Arctic, you're going to see exactly the opposite. A frozen continent surrounded by oceans. What's really fortunate for us when we go there is this little piece of Antarctica that sticks north of the Antarctic Circle. The red dotted line is the Antarctic Circle. That's the area that has 6 months of darkness and very, very bitter cold in the winter. But as they come out of the winter and they enter spring, particularly this part right underneath where it says Falkland Islands or Malvinas, that's the part of Antarctica that thaws the first in the spring, and it's the part to freeze the last in the fall. And as a result, the wildlife gather there like crazy. So it's teeming with wildlife, and some of the ice is melting, and it allows us to take the ship around and the Zodiacs around. The other lucky coincidence is how close it is to the southern tip of South America. There have been commercial operations to Antarctica from South Africa, but it takes 4 days to get across. From Australia, from Hobart, from Perth, even from Dunedin, New Zealand. But again, it's about 3-4 days to get across. Here, we can do it in a day and a half to 2 days. There's even a voyage that I'll show you where we do it in 2 hours. So in terms of the itineraries that we offer, our bread and butter itinerary, the real basic itinerary that I would say 70% of our voyages are these. They're in 10 and 12-day versions. The 12-day is just 2 days longer than the 10-day. We spend 2 days crossing over to Antarctica. We spend 6 or 8 days on the peninsula, visiting the South Shetland Islands, but mostly here around the peninsula and some of the islands. And then we make our way back. That's the basic trip that 70% of our guests will do. There's lots and lots of wildlife when you get there, a great variety of wildlife, as I said, because the peninsula is starting to thaw out. It's the warmest place in Antarctica right then. Beautiful landscapes, very, very remote, untouched beauty. There are no towns. There's no infrastructure here, no roads, no vehicles, no airports, nothing like that. Some scientific research stations, but you can count the number of people at those research stations on your 2 hands. So really not a lot of people around. For those who want to go and do something a little more in depth and say, well, I'm only going to get to this part of the world once. I have the time and I have the means. Why don't I go for a little bit longer? So in this case, we're including the Falklands or Malvinas out to South Georgia and then down to the Antarctic Peninsula and back up to Ushuaia. These are 18-day voyages. There are versions of these that are 15 where we include just South Georgia and then the peninsula, or just the Falklands and then the peninsula. So again, there's a real variety for people. And the Falklands, these 18-day trips that include Falklands, Malvinas, and South Georgia, a greater variety of wildlife, because here you will see, on the Falklands, for example, you'll see rockhopper penguins, macaroni penguins, king penguins. On South Georgia, you'll see king penguin colonies that are 60,000, 100,000 birds. Just an incredible scene. Lots of history, if you include Falklands and South Georgia as well, the more recent history, the war about 35, 40 years ago. And in South Georgia, the history of Shackleton and the Shackleton expedition, and Shackleton is buried there. The South Georgia is also referred to as the Switzerland of the Southern Ocean because of the beautiful mountain peaks there. We have a longer version of the peninsula. Again, people who are thinking of going and they want to go for an even longer time. Here we have a peninsula voyage that's spending 20 days, 2 days to get over, 2 days to get back, and 16 days exploring along the peninsula where nobody goes. This is the one where we're using the smallest ship with the highest ice class that allows us to get further into these areas, cross the Antarctic Circle if the ice conditions allow, and penetrate even further there into Antarctica. We're doing one in late January of 22 and another one in early February of 23. And then lastly, the last style of voyage that we do, I mentioned that there's a voyage whereby we fly over. Rather than spending 2 days to sail across, we do it in 2 hours. And we land, there's a little Chilean air base on King George Island, and they have a gravel strip. And we use a very, very special aircraft to land at this gravel strip. And we do that in 2 days. So for those, or 2 hours, excuse me. So for those who are very, very short on time, we've just eliminated 4 days from that trip to get down to the Antarctic Peninsula. And we have that in 5, 6, and 9 day versions. And here you can see the timeline. So in this case, you fly to Punta Arenas, Chile, you overnight, you get on the special aircraft, 2 hours to get over to Frey, which is the Chilean air base on King George Island, walk down to the beach, board the ship, and then again, you spend anywhere from 5, 6, or 9 days aboard the ship, and then do it all in reverse. For people who are short on time, or for people who are nervous about crossing the Drake Passage, or who are very, very prone to seasickness, this would be ideal. So we get to Antarctica. And this is a very, very typical landing. One of the questions we get is, it says expedition. Do I have to be a triathlete? How fit do I need to be to do this? And you don't. I mean, the reality is if you can play around a golf, if you can climb a few flights of stairs, if you can walk around the mall, you can do this. Because if this is as much as you want to do, just walk on this spit of land here, this spit of gravel, and speak to the expedition team, talk to the ornithologist about the life cycle of the penguins, go up close and get your photographs of the penguins. That's as much as you need to do. That's fine. You can see it's relatively flat, even ground on these landing sites. And if that's as much as you want to do, that's fine. There, for the photographers in particular, it's great to set up, sit still, let the penguins come to you. They're very, very inquisitive, and get that beautiful magazine cover shot. If you're concerned that these voyages are not active enough, there's always an expedition team member or two who want to go on a hike and who want to take you to some really cool spots to get some great photographs of the glaciers, of the icebergs, of the ship, different perspectives. So there's always a lot to do if you want to be. In other words, you can stay as active as you would like to be. There are guidelines and limitations in Antarctica and in the Arctic in terms of how many people we can take ashore at a time. So we limit ourselves. In the case of the Silver Explorer with 144 guests, we would only take 70 guests ashore. The other 70 we would take out in 7 Zodiacs or 8 Zodiacs. We have 14 Zodiacs aboard the ship. So we'll keep nice small groups, and we do what's called Zodiac cruising. So my group is on land, your group is in the Zodiac cruises, in the Zodiacs, and you're Zodiac cruising. You're seeing the wildlife from a different perspective. You're seeing the glaciers and the icebergs. You're just a couple feet off the water. So the perspective is phenomenal. And then after an hour and a half or 2 hours, we switch places. So don't worry, you're not missing out on anything. If you're told to get in the Zodiacs first thing in the morning, you'll do an hour and a half, 2 hours in the Zodiacs, and then you'll come on land and you'll walk around at that spot with those penguins at that penguin colony. You'll see that species of penguin. And then I will take my turn in the Zodiacs and do another hour and a half or 2 hours of that. That's all what happens in the morning. Then we go back to the ship, we have lunch, the captain navigates the ship somewhere else, and in the afternoon, we do it all over again. All right? The exception, now, of course, nothing's a forced march. If you want to stay on the ship and order room service and sleep in and enjoy the amenities of the ship and go to the salon or go for a swim or a hot tub, do that, that's fine. The other activity that you could sign up for as well is sea kayaking, and it's complimentary. So we offer sea kayaking in Antarctica and in the Arctic. And where I mentioned the perspective of the Zodiacs before, the perspective of being in a kayak, now a couple inches off the water, is absolutely fantastic. Okay, moving on to the Arctic. I told you we were going to go quick. Here's another video. And again, no sound. And in this case, it looks like no. What happened to the video? Sorry about that. Yeah.
You mentioned that there's a setting that you can share video sound. I haven't.
Yeah, I did that. But I think the audio has been stripped out of these. Anyway, thank you for that. And now I know why. Sorry, it's my mistake.
What we can do is when we finish the webinar, you can send me these videos and I'll share with everyone.
Perfect. Yep. The key about this one, this is very interesting. This voyage was done at the tail end of 2019. So about 18 months ago, we did what's called a Northeast Passage. We went from Alaska all the way over the top of Russia to Norway over the course of 25 days. Our guests saw polar bears on, it was 5 or 6. Let's say it was 5 different occasions. This was one of them. The onboard filmmaker, because every expedition voyage has an onboard filmmaker, had the presence of mind to send the drone over the bears and turn around and shoot back so you get the ship in the background for perspective. This is how close, and just prior to this, they had the Zodiacs in the water as well, so they were even closer to the bears. This is a mother and her 1.5-year-old male cub, a sow bear and a little male cub. Not so little, he's about the size of his mother. But look, he's not so experienced in the ice. See how she jumped out really easily, and he's still learning. So he'll stay with her for another 6 months or so, and then he'll go off on his own. She'll sort of shoo him away, and he's got to start to fend for himself. But beautiful, fat, round, gorgeous, healthy-looking bears. We don't promise polar bears. Be wary of anyone that promises you polar bears or promises you northern lights. That's kind of like promising you a rainbow or promising you that you're going to win the lottery tomorrow. We can't do it. We'll do our utmost to try and find the bears for you and show you where they are. But just to give you a sense, and speaking of the filmmaker, we have one, as I said, on every expedition voyage. At the end of the voyage, every one of our guests gets a USB stick with a 12 to 15 minute film that's specific to their voyage, as well as 200 to 300 still images that this photographer, videographer, filmmaker was taking over the course of the entire voyage. So it's a beautiful memento. And it means that you can put your camera away. The first time I went to Antarctica, by about, I don't know, the 6th day, I put my camera in the safe and locked it and locked the closet that the safe was in, and then locked my door so that there would be 3 locks between me and my camera so I could just go out and enjoy, because I found I was watching Antarctica through the viewfinder of my camera. So it's having a filmmaker on board means that occasionally just leave your camera in your suite. Don't worry about it. Let the filmmaker take care of it. Okay, remember the other map? I said Antarctica is a frozen continent surrounded by oceans, and there was a landmass at the South Pole. See how the Arctic is exactly the opposite. The Arctic is a frozen ocean surrounded by continents. So that image early on, where I was at the North Pole, we landed on a sheet of ice that's constantly moving. So when we landed, the Russian pilots of those helis landed us, and we took out our GPSs and we said, hey, we're at 90 degrees north. And we held our GPSs up, and you get someone to take a photo, or you try and take a selfie, and then you look at it again, and the photo was wrong because we drifted 2 meters south or east or west or north or whatever, because this floating ice sheet. Anyway, so a couple of really interesting things about the Arctic that make it so different from Antarctica. First of all, because of all these countries that lie within the Arctic Circle, we can access the Arctic from Canada, from Greenland, from Iceland, from Norway, from Russia, from Alaska. And it's different in every part of the Arctic. The itineraries that we offer, for example, this area, Svalbard, this is an archipelago of islands north of Norway, really well known for the possibility of seeing polar bears early in the season. So we're doing these intensive 6-day voyages where you fly into Longyearbyen, get on the ship, spend 6 days on the ship, and come back to Longyearbyen. That's all you're doing. Really intensive. Likely more appealing to the European and the UK market. For North America, if we go over and you do something pre-post in Norway or in Denmark or in the UK, great. Longer version of that, where we're taking off from Tromsø, so from Norway, doing some coastal Norway, visiting some of these remote islands along the way, then into the Svalbard archipelago. Longer version still, where we're taking off from Iceland, doing a semi-circumnavigation of Iceland, again, visiting these remote islands in the Arctic. You're above the Arctic Circle most of the time. Back up into Svalbard, into Bear Country, we hope, and then coming down and then along the coast of Norway. Other voyages that focus on Greenland, and Greenland is getting a lot of press these days. Really beautiful scenery here. Western Greenland and Eastern Baffin Island in Canada. And then a Northwest Passage transit. So from Greenland all the way over the top of Canada, ending in Alaska 24 days later. That is pretty epic. So for all those bucket list people and those people who say I've been there and I've done that, I challenge you. I don't know, I doubt you've done a Northwest Passage or a Northeast Passage. So the other way that the Arctic is very, very different is in Antarctica. When we go looking for those penguin colonies, those I mentioned 2, there's one that has an estimated 60,000 king penguins and another that has an estimated 100,000 king penguins. Here, we don't know where the animals are. We have no idea. We're hoping to see beluga and narwhal and muskox and reindeer and Arctic fox, and if we're lucky, polar bears and walrus, but we have no idea where they will be. They don't form colonies. They don't sit on nests. They're all moving around. So we use the high ice class of the ship to push into the icy waters of these bays and these fjords and these inlets and maneuver around the icebergs and really go exploring into these places that the average cruise ship just couldn't get. That's the beauty of having these small ships with a high ice class. It allows us to go in here. And then we take our guests ashore. We go explore on foot, wander around some of these areas, see these glaciers up close, these beautiful beaches. We use the Zodiacs, we use the kayaks to get out and explore as well. Remember, the perspective of sitting in one of these kayaks, you're at water level, you're away from the ship, the noise and the hustle and the bustle of the ship. All you hear is your paddle, or you hear the glacier calving and creating a new iceberg. So just amazing, amazing experiences. And if we're lucky, again, the wildlife, reindeer, musk oxen, walrus. Not all of these are visible in every part of the Arctic, different parts of the Arctic. The musk oxen, for example, you'll likely only see in the Canadian Arctic. We also have the opportunity to visit Greenlandic and Canadian Inuit villages. This is different in the Arctic as well, because in Antarctica, there's no culture. There are no permanent settlements. There are these scientific research stations, but there are permanent settlements and that have been here for thousands of years, and we can go visit the Greenlanders and the Canadian Inuit people and visit their villages and learn about them. So it's a very, very different aspect of the Arctic as well. The Northern Lights, again, nothing we can promise. If we're really lucky, if it's the right time of year where there are enough hours of darkness, if it's not too overcast, this is almost too overcast where the lights are being obscured, but it really does something cool with the image. And just to speak to, again, the aspect of the unknown on any expedition voyage, this happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. The guests had all gone to bed. And the expedition team had a very, very quick discussion amongst themselves. Do we wake everybody up? We have to, because if we tell them tomorrow morning at breakfast at 7 o'clock, oh, you should have seen the Northern Lights last night, there's going to be a mutiny. So instead, there's a PA announcement at 1 o'clock in the morning. Everything is fine. Nothing's wrong. There is no emergency. But put your big red parkas on over your pajamas and put your boots on and come up to the observation deck. There's something we would like to show you. And nobody complains, because that's why they have come. Similarly with bears, the time of year we're hopeful to see bears is early in the season, in June, early July. And that far north, we're getting 20, 22, sometimes 24 hours of daylight. So the biologists and the naturalists are up on deck with their spotting scopes and their binoculars every hour of the day looking for bears. So there might be a wake-up call at 5 a.m. You weren't expecting it until 7, but if we see bears, we're going to wake you up. If it's your choice whether or not you stay in bed and sleep in, but if you wanted to come to the Arctic to see polar bears, get out of bed, come see the bears. Told you it would be short and sweet and fast. If you would like to read more about these destinations, about Iceland, Alaska, Greece, Galapagos, the ones I mentioned early on, we have a great blog, discover.silversea.com. There's no act now, there's no pricing, there are no dates. These are just stories, beautifully written pieces by professional writers that we've hired and professional photographers to accompany them. So it's accompanied with beautiful photography. And I know, Denise, you mentioned the videos, and I will make sure that Denise has those so she can share them with you. But we also have a channel on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com and look up Silversea Cruises, all of the videos I showed are there, and dozens and dozens and dozens more. And if there's anything you see or read about on the blog, anything you see here, go back, reach out to the folks at Luxury Cruise Connections, and then we can start a conversation about where to send you on your next expedition cruise. And Audrey, can I hand it back to you?
Of course. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing that and giving us your insight on what to expect and see and do in these remote destinations. We do have a special for attendees and for Luxury Cruise Connections making a booking exclusive right now. It will be $250 off per person on any new booking made by starting today through June 17th. So that is an exclusive offer for any voyage, classic or expedition, good for 2 weeks. There's also some other promotions out there that started just recently. So there is a promotion for Venetian Society members. Oh, there it is, sorry. Venetian Society, for all you Venetian Society people out there, if you're referring any friends to Silversea, you're going to get some discount, $500 off your next cruise and $500 off of the friend you're referring. And you're allowed to refer up to 4 per person. Per household, it would be 8 that you can refer altogether.
Now they have to be new to Silversea.
They have to be new to Silversea, and they have to sail after you. So that's the caveat, is they have to say, I'm sorry, they sail before you. So Venetian Society has to sail, the new referral has to sail first before the Venetian Society can collect. There is a new offer out there, which is up to 20% savings, and this is on a lot of expedition cruising in the polar regions. It's 10% pay in full with an additional 10% off on these select voyages. That is if you book and pay in full by August 31st. And then, of course, we have Cruise with Confidence out there. So if you book a cruise with Silversea right now, you can cancel up to 30 days and ask for an FCC. If we end up canceling the cruise by chance, that happens, then you're going to be able to get either an FCC or a refund. So we have those offers out there for everybody. Please take advantage of using an expert at Luxury Cruise Connections. These guys know their stuff, and they are wonderful to work with. So thank you so much. Carlos, it looks like I see you now. Jazz, thank you. Any questions that anybody has at this point, or any questions later on, please let us know.
We've got a special guest, Carlos Edery, on the show now.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry. Thank you, Carl, and thank you, Audrey, very, very much for this. And Jazz, thank you for giving me a hand here. And Denise too. There was this unfortunate. Well, I guess it's a happy event, but it was last minute rearrangement of my daughter's graduation, and I just couldn't miss that for the life of me. So, but I'm happy that I have a great team here that can handle it for me. And so I'm just, I think these guys are doing an incredible job. So I'm just going to stay here in the background listening, learning. This has been a lot of fun. So Jazz, please take over, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. I'm sure that there's some people that have some questions. And as I stated before, please go ahead and let us know in the chat if you'd like for one of our travel specialists to go ahead and reach out to you as well. If not, they will be reaching out to you, I'm sure, very soon either way. But we do have some questions. I actually have a question. Audrey, I think you mentioned this right now, like 2 seconds ago, regarding the referral program. What if the new guests are going to sail with the Venetian Society members on the same exact cruise? Will they be able to take advantage of it then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that if they're sailing along with their friends and they're referring their friends, yes, and they've never sailed with Silversea, everybody gets that advantage of the $500.
I think in terms of timing, the way it works is the current Silversea guest refers and gives their Venetian Society number to their friends. Their friends make a booking, and at time of booking refer to their friend's Venetian Society number. That is made note of. And then the people who did the referring, they will see a credit of $500. And if they do it multiple times, up to 4 times, that credit starts to grow. So 500, 1,000, 1,500, up to 2,000. And then they make their booking and apply that credit towards it.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah, that's something important to know. Absolutely. If there's any questions, please, we'll open it up now. If anybody wants to actually come on and ask any questions, not only a travel specialist, but the guests alike. If there's any questions, Carlos, if you have anything you want to add, any other questions as well, please.
Stephen has his hand up.
Yeah, I just want to, hey, Carl, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Just wanted to, for anyone who is with us, who is new or maybe even past guests of Silversea, Audrey mentioned the early payment and the 20%. understand though, your final payment, whenever it is, you still have that opportunity to get a full refund up until that time. You're just getting a discount, but you have up until that time. So don't think that you're locked in, that you will never see that money if you can't make it or something like that. So I just wanted to bring that out because some guests may say, oh my God, I'm going to get my money out in August and I'm stuck. So I just
Right.
wanted to bring that point up.
Very good point. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome. Great presentation, Cole.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead.
I'll just ask a quick question. Audrey, super excited about that opportunity 500. Just want to mention to everybody, or maybe ask this question: those $500 don't necessarily have to be used for expedition. Of course, we would love for you to try the expedition, but they don't have to be used for expedition. Is that correct?
That's correct. So any booking you make on Silversea through Luxury Cruise Connections only, it is exclusive to them. You'll be getting $500 off per person if it's double occupancy. If it's a solo traveler, it's $250 off. I forgot to mention, we do have a lot of solo travelers on Silversea because we do give some great discounts. Sometimes it's only 50% supplement or 25%. You just have, it's on select voyages. We have that. So we do get a lot of solo travelers. So please look at those itineraries, check with Luxury Cruise Connections. We'll see what we can do to get you lower supplement. Most cruise lines will charge 200%. So you're paying double occupancy for a solo. So yeah, definitely check us out for that.
And while our guests, get the courage to come on turn on their mics and ask some more questions. A typical question that I ask, and I'll just use the opportunity that I have you both, Carl and you, on this call. A question that I often get is, why should I, what should I book with Luxury Cruise Connections as opposed to directly with Silversea? Would you mind just sharing this for a second with our guests and explaining, kind of the advantages of using a travel advisor like at Luxury Cruise Connections?
Well, using a travel advisor at this time in this world is very important. And Luxury Cruise Connections, like I said, they are my top producer in my territory. They know the product. They know what's going on, the CDC. They're keeping in touch with everything that's going on. So the knowledge that they have, the experience, years and years of experience of dealing with Silversea, knowing the destinations, really providing you service from beginning to end, not just booking your cruise, but if you have questions and you want to book hotels, you want to know where to go, what to do, where to eat when you're in a certain port, if you're going to some of these other destinations where there's cities and restaurants. But it's that kind of knowledge that really makes you, they become your travel concierge from beginning to end, and you become a lifetime loyal customer to them, and they want to take care of you from the beginning, and really, and all your friends and family too. So, but yeah, I've known everybody here on this call that works for them for many years, and so yeah, I would say it's key to using a travel advisor. And like I said, these guys are so professional and they know their stuff.
And I would add to that, it's all about relationships, and ask anybody who made their own arrangements in March or April of last year when everything went sideways with COVID, how they did calling the airline, 1-800-AIRLINE or 1-800 Shore Excursion or 1-800 Cruise Line. How did that work out when you tried to get your money back and when you tried to make arrangements on the fly as you were stuck somewhere? That's the difference, whereas you've got a relationship with any one of the people at Luxury Cruise Connections. They know you, you've worked with them for years. They have a vested interest in making sure that you're taken care of. They have access to us. We in turn have access to the ships. We can make a call. I got a call today. What's the largest size of wetsuit that you have on the Silver Origin in the Galapagos? I have the entire operation, the expedition team on a WhatsApp chat, all of them. There are 4 expedition leaders who rotate, but they're all on the same WhatsApp chat. I just texted into the WhatsApp chat. Hey, what's the largest size we have on board? How many of them and what brand? Within 2 minutes, boom, we have 4 5XLs. They're Scuba Pro. Here's the website. Sent it to the guest in question because he was really concerned. He's completely put at ease now. So it's that sort of thing, just access and relationships.
Absolutely. I actually have a question for both of you, for Audrey or Carl, whoever wants to answer it, from one of our guests who asked this on our email. So the question is, I've had 3 of my cruises canceled, so I have never been able to join the Venetian Society. I have another one booked for 2022 in October. So I guess the question is, could I get to join the Venetian Society now that I have tried to travel with you all? And that's tough, right? Because, I mean, it's probably out of their control to have those canceled cruises also, so.
It is, and we don't want to cancel those cruises, and we had to. But when somebody who was new to Silversea, or even somebody who was a Venetian Society and had a canceled cruise, we gave them the VS days. So they actually became a Venetian Society without even sailing on Silversea. So you are getting those benefits. If you went and rebooked again on a voyage that was a dedicated Venetian Society sailing, you would be getting those savings, that 5% savings on that sailing because of that.
So Audrey, is that something that maybe the one of us as the travel specialist should reach out to someone
It's an automatic thing.
Oh,
It is an automatic thing. So it does generate, it goes to guest relations. They assign them a Venetian Society number, and it's just automatic.
So as long as,
But in case it slipped through the cracks, Jazz, or something didn't happen, let us know and we'll follow up and make sure that it's done correctly.
Thank you. And before we get to some of the questions that were already answered with Audrey as well, I did get a message regarding the video as far as the whole entire webinar, and Denise did mention it earlier. We will have a copy for you, hopefully with some sound as well. I know this one didn't have any, but we should be able to get the sound on the copy of the video as well for anybody who is wondering if they'll get it. Maybe they came in a little late and didn't see that, so we'll definitely have that for you all. One of the questions that Audrey answered a little earlier was regarding passengers being vaccinated, if everyone is still required to be vaccinated, and if there's some sort of medical issue where you're not able to be vaccinated, who will be able to cruise, who won't be able to cruise, certain questions like that. Is that something maybe, Audrey, you can kind of go over again for anybody who maybe didn't read the chat?
Well, it is right now that we are only accepting vaccinated. We're vaccinating all of our crew. Unless there is a reason for health or religion, but at least 90% of the crew are going to be fully vaccinated, and that goes for our passengers too at this point in time. So we really want 100% vaccinated, but if for some reason we have somebody who for medical reasons can't, then they need to reach out to us. You book them, reach out to us, or reach out to us first, tell us what's happening, and then we'll have to get that approved. But you know, with this being such a fluid thing, every day it's changing, and so I expect a lot more changes to continue on as we get in the water. Maybe we will have people that are mixed, vaccinated and not vaccinated, you know, that kind of scenario later on. But I can't exactly tell you that that's going to happen right away or when that's going to happen, but that's what we're expecting.
Just to give you an idea of how fluid the situation is, up until yesterday, the understanding was that anybody traveling to the Galapagos, because again, we start sailing in the Galapagos in a little over 2 weeks, anyone sailing to the Galapagos, A, had to be fully vaccinated, but B, still had to get a negative PCR test on the Tuesday or Wednesday before flying to Ecuador, not because of Ecuadorian entry requirements, but because of Galapagos entry requirements. The Galapagonians needed to see a negative test that was taken within 96 hours of arrival in San Cristobal. That changed last night. Last night, the Ministry of Health told the Ministry of Tourism, no, we're eliminating that. Today they backtracked a little bit because the folks in the Galapagos said, give us a couple weeks because we need to, we don't want to make it immediate. We want to make sure that the people that are arriving in the next couple of weeks who have already done the negative PCR test, But anyway, it's that sort of thing where we're planning one thing and it changes overnight. They're positive changes, but it changes almost instantly, and it's changing all the time. So the best bet, and this is another reason, going back to Carlos's question and comment, it's another reason to work with a travel advisor, because when we hear about the changes, we're going to let you know, and you in turn are going to let all of your clients know.
And that's another thing to keep in mind, right? Is one thing is the regulations or on board, right? Not having to wear masks, being fully vaccinated. Once you get off, if you're in one of these foreign countries, they
Whoops,
We lost you.
whoops, there you go.
am I here? Did I make
Yeah,
You're
another?
there
back.
you
You're
go.
back. You're back.
That's something to keep in mind, is that the regulations on board and as far as testing and vaccinations with the cruise lines may be different with the countries that you're going to be visiting as well, right? So kind of say, hey, well, you don't need a mask on board, but you may need a mask once you get off. So it all depends. And that's something to keep in mind for all the guests also, to make sure that they take everything that they need to travel to these countries.
Everybody, I'm sorry I've got to leave. I've got an 8-year-old that I have to go pick up. It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much. And if there are more questions, please feel free to filter them my way, and I will do my best to address them.
Take care,
Thanks,
Carl.
Carl.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Audrey,
Yes.
I'm sure you can, one thing that new guests and maybe past guests, society members, don't realize that on many of the cruises, Silversea offers great rates for business class air. You want to discuss that?
We do. We offer economy class air on all of our destinations. And then if, for instance, you don't want to use our air, you have an air credit that gets taken off of your cruise fare. So the one that's always in my head constantly, because I say it over and over again, is for Europe. For instance, if you're going to Europe, economy air is free. Business class is $6.99 each way if they want business class. They don't want any air with Silversea. They're not getting transfers either, but they're getting an air credit of $900 per person off of their cruise fare. The only time I recommend that somebody not take Silversea air is if they're deviating like crazy, or they have so many miles they can do whatever they want. Deviating like crazy, I mean, then you're going to be paying deviation fees, upcharges. You're changing the itinerary of what we have set and contracted out with these with the air carriers and the hotels if there's hotels attached. But we also include hotel pre if it's needed with some of our destinations, and a day post hotel. So that's included when you're taking our air if it's needed on these destinations. But not every destination we have offers business class upgrade. For instance, the Caribbean, we don't do it. There's certain ones that we don't. Alaska, we are. Antarctica, we are.
What about the expeditions, Audrey?
Expedition side, we are too, not for, well, we offer it for Galapagos, for instance. Economy, business class is very high, so we try not to offer it. I mean, it's extremely high. Very limited seating there, so we don't really do that. And you're getting it bundled up with a package, 2-night hotel stay, inter-island flights, that kind of thing. The polars, I mean, I would say to take our air, we do offer business class. It's a very nominal fee. I think it's $3.99 or $4.99, something like that. But your specialist at Luxury Cruise Connections will find that out for you. Or I wish Carl was on the phone. I don't know the exact amount for the business class upgrade, but we do offer it.
Audrey, we have a couple questions in the chat. The first one from Jen, and I think this is going back to the vaccination question, but what about if the guests have had COVID and now they've built up the antibodies? They still need to have a vaccine, right?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay, so that answers that. The next question comes from Arthur regarding the status of South America, Lima to Buenos Aires in 2022. And I assume the reason is because they've seen an uptick in cases and whatnot in Argentina. But maybe you have some more information to lend regarding that itinerary.
I wish I did, but we do still have the Silver Dawn scheduled to do South America in January. So that's still on the plan. But, you know, again, things are changing every day. Things are opening up. Italy, Europe just opened up for U.S. travelers. So we didn't expect that right away. Things are moving along, and more vaccinations. I think we'll get there for sure. But fingers are crossed.
If anybody else has any other questions,
Thanks, Jan.
yes. Thank you, Arthur, as well. Any other questions? You know, look, if we don't answer the questions for you here, please make sure that you reach out to us, and we'll be able to contact you and get with you. One of the travel specialists will be able to get on a call with you and kind of answer any questions and concerns. And of course, like as Audrey and Carl said, we have access to them as well to get on, you know, any calls or anything that we need answered. They're right there for us also. So, and again, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Thanks, Jazz. Thank you so much, Carl, Carlos, Denise, all
Bye,
you guys,
Audrey.
beautiful Monica. Love you guys. And
Love you
thank
guys.
you.
Take care.
All right,
Take
we'll see you
care.
on Silversea. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for joining. Whoever is still on, go ahead and send us an email and we'll be able to contact you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Jazz, thank you very much, my friend. Did a great job.